growing up as a teen, I remember having complete breakdowns when not only when something wouldn't go my way, but when physical objects, I would lose something, or something would break down, or something would break, or something would get stolen. I would go into deep anger and resentment and frustration. And I didn't know what to do about it, the anger and frustration and resentment. No one ever talked about it. It wasn't mainstream. You can't really, that time, it wasn't really anything you can Google. And I'm sure now, even Google or the people that create it may not have gone deep enough to realize the truth of how not to take things so seriously. So how I realized that nothing really matters that much is ultimately what changed the way I perceive things. So now, when something doesn't go my way, or something breaks down, or I go outside and the car is gone, my famous little joke, I'm quite okay. I realize I don't need the frustration. What is that going to do for the situation? I realize I don't need the anger. What is that going to do for the situation? So I began to experiment and try it out. When something didn't go my way, or something went outside the car was gone, I tried not to think about it in a negative way. I tried to go beyond that negative thinking. I had to at first realize that I wasn't the negative thinking. I wasn't the resentment. I wasn't the anger. But at the same time, now I had to live it because the situation is there. I remember one time, may have told this story before, I had a car, nice car, Mercedes car, and hadn't had it for too long. It was a means of transportation to me. It wasn't mine. You see, that's what invites the anger and resentment and frustration when you go outside and it's gone, or someone hits it, like in this case. I'm making a right turn, I think it was. Yes, and there's a lane there that has these lines that you're not supposed to be in. No car should go there. And so I'm in the lane that makes the right turn. The person pulls up in the lane that you're not supposed to be in, tries to pass me at the same time I'm turning, hits the car. Absolutely their fault. I pull over, they pull over, we both get out the car, and at this time, once it happened, I remembered. I always have frustration and resentment and anger when things don't go my way. I remembered that. And so I immediately shifted my attention from the thought process to my breathing, because that's the practice. Step out of thought if you don't want anger, resentment, and so on. So when I got out, I was relatively calm. The person was outraged, began yelling at me. I just got this car. I could have said, then why did you do that? But no, as they said that, I allowed a second for them to say what they said, even after they finished talking. There was at least a second or two of awareness, conscious awareness. And then I responded, "Are you okay?" And that wasn't enough because it continued going, 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 yelling, yelling. And that's okay. I didn't demand them to be calm and conscious as they could be. I didn't even say anything about it. I just allowed the situation to take place because the practice was for me, for them too, but they may not have known it at that time. We began talking a little bit, and as the conversation went on, I can see their energy come down out of the anger because I wasn't feeding it. I didn't know that that would happen because, like I said, it was the beginning of the shift in consciousness for me. And when they continued on, they probably noticed that the person isn't responding how I would imagine. So we ended up exchanging numbers, talking, becoming a little more conscious with each other, and it was fine. I agreed to help with whatever the person needed for the car. They never agreed, but that's okay. I imagined that they would, take it up with the insurance, but they never called me. No one ever did anything because I can imagine that after a while they realized that was actually my fault, and I actually probably overreacted. It didn't really matter that much. It's probably what they realized. And for myself, like I said, I started to realize that things matter, but not in the way that the mind takes it. It makes it the absolute importance. You forget about that you're alive. You forget about that all the beauty around you is here for you to perceive it and acknowledge it. At that point, the mind just wants to fixate on the situation. And I had to notice that for myself because, okay, at the car, I could have fixated on that and nothing else matters. Nothing else exists. You lose it. It's like you're in a trance where the negativity has to feed. And once it's done feeding, then you're okay. Doesn't that look a little insane? Something happens. First of all, let's take it to a broader perspective. Compared to the universe, just this planet, which seems so big and wonderful and luscious and beautiful, you're like a speck of dust on this planet. The planet itself is like a speck of dust compared to the multiplicity of everything. So I began to look at things at a broader perspective. How can I take this little thing that's even smaller than a speck of dust as we are, as this planet, even smaller than that? How could I take it so seriously and be upset about it, and be resistant about it, and be in resentment about it? How? And then I realized that the mind is taking things too seriously. It's completely identified. There was no space in me for awareness and presence and acknowledgement. And when I began to live in such a way where I didn't take my existence, let's say, I didn't take my existence for, granted. Because if you're absolutely engulfed into negativity about something so small compared to the universe, like we said, you're taking your existence for granted. And you think that everything's matter very much. Not saying that you shouldn't put any kind of, when you have to do something, no, it doesn't matter that much. No, not like that. But the negativity and the resentment and anger that comes into you, it's not worth it. Only if you knew what you were doing to your system, just that, you probably wouldn't do it yourself. Every time you're negative, you're poisoning your system. It brings about, if you look at the the scientists, and they did tests on people who were angry and upset, you can feel it. You can feel stressed and anxiety. You don't like it. You don't like it. But still, it's not mainstream on how to get out of it and how to handle situations compassionately. So a lot of people still go through it. But ultimately, just that reminder of it doesn't really matter that much will take me into a different state of consciousness when I handle situations that don't go my way or happen to happen or is negative. Just that shift there where it doesn't really matter that much. Step out of that thought process. Follow the rhythm of my breathing for a second. Different thoughts will come to you. Conscious thoughts, conscious, compassionate thoughts will come to you and help you through that situation in such a way where it doesn't create anger, resistance, frustration. Because it doesn't really matter that much. Thank you for joining me.